Aang goes, he's Avatar the Last Smolderer. He's just standing there and he's going...
They orientalized Bumi.
The adaptation says, judge a book by its cover.
Judge a book by its cover. Judge a brown man by his cover. You can be complex and still be dead wrong.
Yes, and liberals are fascinated by this concept.
Oh, we never mentioned Sokka becoming a Western patriarch, did we?
Because they're talking about Japanese isolationism and Chinese isolationism.
They really exposed themselves. They really exposed who it is they relate to.
Yes.
And it's clear that it is the oppressor. Hello, and welcome to the first bonus episode of
Witch and Monk. We are doing half of the episode here. The full episode will be available on our Patreon, which we recently started. So thank you to everybody who has decided to become patrons. We are thankful for your help, basically. Today we're going to talk about the Netflix adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The original show was very near and dear to both of our hearts. I've watched it once in full. You've watched it multiple times.
Yes, yeah. Since the beginning, since it came out, I was always a big fan, so yeah. Yeah,
we were always astounded by just how respectfully and thoughtfully it depicts indigenous cultures, Inuit cultures, China, Japan, Tibetan cultures, and also how it depicts like these ancient thoughts about spirituality, traditions, the way that the Chinese calligraphy was super accurate and it's like an Easter egg in a way, and
the imperialism,
also how it talks about imperialism,
colonization, all in that context. It's hard to believe that white people wrote it, to be honest, but I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
That being said, the Netflix adaptation of the show is spooky. It's really bad. Yeah. And it's bad for many reasons. People have talked about it in depth. This is actually something that was talked about many moons ago. We haven't watched the series front to back.
Well, I mean, we have, but we've skimmed it. We've like skimmed it, the Netflix adaptation. So not every single detail, but we've skimmed it enough to know, understand what like everything that's going on.
Yeah. And we watched Big Joel's summary of all the problems with it, which is like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
I've watched it twice.
Yeah.
It's spooky, and I think what we're going to be able to do today is articulate why it's actually oppressive.
Yes. Well, I think that all of its spookiness, I feel like roots in the fact that, and this occurred to me when, I was first watching it, that I think what Netflix and whoever was in charge of it, like what they did to it and like their take on it, I feel like reminds me exactly of how like colonizers will rewrite history. They'll rewrite something and give their own adaptation of it, of like how things happen, of events happened. And I feel like that is what they did with this series. The series that, is basically, I mean, you can read it as like a historical account, a historical story of like imperialism, of colonization, and all the cast of characters that are within that. And these showrunners, I think they colonized that. This is like colonized, like they colonized Avatar history.
They colonized Avatar history. I mean, like the Fire Nation was literally based off of the Empire of Japan, right?
Yes.
Which is what makes it so kind of torturous. That the adaptation is actually probably the most sympathetic to the Fire Nation.
It is. I felt watching it, I really did feel like those showrunners identified the most with the Fire Nation. Yeah. Because of the way that like some of the choices that they decided to make with how they depicted the Fire Nation characters. Yeah. Which I guess that's like our first section.
That's our first section. Yeah. I find that, for instance, Iroh is a character who is obviously beloved in the fandom, obviously a really amazing dynamic character in the original series. Yeah. And it's as if the showrunners for this adaptation were so excited about this and so emphatic about like really bringing this out that they just kind of rewrote him in these ways that seem subtle at first but actually decimate his character.
Yeah, he's essentially, and hear us out, I feel like he's essentially like an imperial core liberal.
Yeah. He gives like that kind of stand-in voice for that. Yeah. With some of the ways that he pours over the horrible things that he does. Yeah. Because frankly, like in the original series, you've talked about this to me, the way Iroh is depicted, he doesn't do all that much on his own. He doesn't have quite that much agency. This is something Big Joel talked about as well. Yeah. But he does bad things, which is after he's done bad things his entire career as, the general of the Fire Nation.
Yeah, yeah.
And in that first book, you can kind of read it as him working with his nephew, Zuko, who's in this very difficult, traumatic situation, and trying to help him achieve his goals, but also trying to push him off of that as being the center of his worldview, trying to open him up. In the Netflix adaptation, Iroh is just this old man whose eyes are watery and big, and he goes, I don't know, I think, Zuko, have you thought that maybe your dad doesn't want you to get the Avatar?
Yeah, which isn't even true.
Right, not in this version of it.
Not in this version of it.
And it's not in the original either.
It's not even in the original either. It's not even true either. It's just he's yapping about whatever. Yapping about whatever he thinks is on his mind that he's pondering about in any given moment.
Yeah, that's how it reads as Iroh is trying to actually break this news slowly and gently to Zuko that his father actually doesn't love him or care about him.
Yeah.
But then we look at how Ozai, Zuko's father, is actually depicted in the series, has to brutally repress his son in the way that he thinks is best for him to grow.
And then sends him away because he's like, well, this must be best for you. Maybe this is how you're going to grow. And it's original Ozai didn't care about that.
No. Can we talk about the Agni Kai?
Yeah, go ahead.
Explain how the Agni Kai goes in the original series. What Ozai does, how he reveals it to Zuko, and then how Zuko gets the scar.
Yeah, so so Zuko speaks out. So Zuko, 13-year-old Zuko, is invited to a war meeting in the original. He's invited to a war meeting for the first time, and he's really excited. And a general offers a plan of how they're going to sacrifice some of the Fire Nation soldiers on the front lines, the young and experienced ones, as part of a tactic. And Zuko speaks up, and he's like, well, you can't have them sacrifice themselves. They love this country. That's cruel or whatever. And he gets in trouble for that. And he's told that, well, since you disrespected this meeting, you're gonna have to go face who you disrespected in Agni Kai, which is basically a fight to, sometimes it could be to the death. I think sometimes it's also just maimed or whatever. Yeah. But somebody gets very hurt always. Yeah. And Zuko's ready for this until the scene flashes to him, and he's prepared. He's in the Agni Kai, and it's revealed that it's his father that he's gonna have to duel.
Yes.
Because even though it was the general's plan and he spoke to the general that way, it happened in his father's war room, and so that disrespected his father. Yeah. And when Zuko realizes this, he is completely besides himself, and he gets on his knees and he begs for forgiveness. He's like, I'm sorry, I won't fight you. I will never do it again. I didn't understand. I would never disrespect you, father. And Ozai was like, get up and fight me. Get up and fight me. And Zuko wouldn't. And so Ozai maims him, but we don't see it, of course.
It's not shown on screen.
It's not shown on screen at all. What happens. We hear the cry, but it flashes to Iroh or whatever.
Which is more horrifying.
Which it is more horrifying. And also, Ozai knew exactly what he was doing. He did it on purpose. He wanted to maim Zuko. He wanted to teach him that lesson. It was not hard for him.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a specific I have to do this specific attack on you so that it can leave this specific scar. Yeah, he just attacks Zuko. Yeah, and the consequences that he burns his eye. Yeah, right. Yeah. In the adaptation, Ozai has this Agni Kai, reveals himself to Zuko. Mm-hmm. Zuko I feel like Zuko starts getting his lick back a little bit. Zuko kind of fends for himself for a couple seconds. Mm. I don't remember this exactly, so you can correct this, audience. This is a Patreon episode. So Ozai goes up to Zuko, and after he's basically gotten Zuko downed, he has this sad look on his face.
Yeah, and he's slow. It's he's being forced to do it. He's I know I have to. I don't want to.
Do you know what that is? That's abuser apologia.
It is.
It's apologies for abusive parents, because that's exactly what abusive parents say. I didn't want to do this. You made me do this. Mm-hmm, I have to do this to protect you.
And at least in the original show, they had the guts to be anybody who would do this is bad, and we're gonna stop pretending he didn't want to be this bad. That he's complicated. Whatever. So right?
Yeah, it's a show that is pro abuser,
pro oppressor. Because this is what oppressors do. This is what oppressors do.
Oppression and abuse are very interlinked things.
They are interlinked. One is on a mass scale, the other one is like more interpersonal. But it's the same tactics.
Right. And Iroh is like the butcher of like the Earth Kingdom. Right?
Yeah.
Iroh was a general who led mass aggression by the Fire Nation army, military, to siege multiple parts, like particularly the Earth Kingdom, right? Yeah. And in the show, this is something that he's complicated in his feelings about. He clearly does not want to go back to that life.
Yeah. You mean in the original show? Or
in the original show.
Yes, in the original show.
He feels complicated things about it. And particularly, he's turned against it because of the passing of his son, Liu Ten.
Yeah. Makes him rethink everything.
Makes him rethink everything and realize that his place in the world is different. Yeah. And plus, like, because he's not able to lead the siege in Ba Sing Se, he's kind of, made ridiculed in the kingdom. Yeah. Right? And Ozai does a coup, all that. In the adaptation, Iroh, who is, again, depicted as this, he's got these big eyes and he's so sad and he just wants what's best for Zuko. He doesn't do anything to stop Zuko, even though he's being now shown to like constantly not want Zuko to do this.
Right. Well, they're having him resist Zuko, right? Like they're having him like be quite upfront about how he's resisting Zuko, but being really like incompetent at the way that he's doing it though.
Yeah. He's completely incompetent. He's not actually doing anything about it. So it's like the same way that liberals go along with things, even though they say that they don't.
And sometimes they'll maybe offer a little like verbal resistance. Yeah. Are we this isn't right? Are we sure this is right? Like what is right? Like how can we?
Iroh basically contrapoints in this series because Iroh just sitting here talking about how bad it is that this is happening, but not really. Yeah. Aang, in one of the only moments that Aang's character kind of makes sense, confronts Iroh in their conversation in the dungeon, and he's like, "Why don't you talk to your son and tell your son what to do? Why don't you
nephew?
Your nephew. Why don't you tell your nephew what to do? I'm sure he would listen to you.
Yeah,
he has to listen to you." And Iroh's like, "Oh, gotta go." Like, he's just like, it's complicated. It's difficult.
Netflix decides to have this scene where Iroh is confronted by this Earth Kingdom soldier, and they talk about like the atrocities Iroh's committed, and basically confronts him about that kind of thing. Yeah.
Iroh says, "I was a soldier," and the Earth Kingdom soldier says, "You were a butcher. What you did was especially horrible." Yeah. And it was an act of aggression. Yes. The Fire Nation are the aggressors.
Yes. And also he wasn't just a soldier. He was he was the most powerful general. Like he's like, Yeah.
He's not just like, just taking orders.
He's a leader.
That's like Joseph Goebbels. It's just like, I was just taking orders, man.
He's a leader, and essentially he responds to that pushback by like, well, the trolley problem, like, you're also fighting in this war too, right? It reveals the bad in all of us, the true bad in all of us, right? Yeah. So am I really worse than you? Yeah. And it's like, yes, you are.
Yes, objectively,
but the show wants you to think that it's more complicated than that.
It's actually quite complicated. Yeah.
And that is why I think the showrunners identify more, like they're trying to identify more with the Fire Nation a little bit. Right. And the original like, yes, shows that like, within every place, within every nation, and within people, there are like things are complex, right? Like it does such a good job at revealing the complexity of many of like the Fire Nation itself, and also a lot of the characters, but also being very clear about like who was bad and who's not. Yes. What is right and what's wrong. You can be complex and still be dead wrong.
Yes, and liberals are fascinated by this concept.
They can't wrap their heads around that concept.
The idea that there is a bad and a good is like, oh, that's so simplistic, that's so vulgar.
That's so, things are more nuanced than that.
And it's like, no, somebody's committing genocide.
Yeah, and they can be a complex person, and guess what? They're still committing genocide, and they're still wrong.
And if a person is actually thinking about what they're doing wrong and they're committing genocide, what they should do is stop committing genocide. If they don't, what does that make them? It makes them a coward. Yeah. It makes them lying. Yeah. It makes them a liar who actually isn't about the principles that they're showing you how much they're torturing themselves over.
It's a complete destruction of Iroh's character by trying to somehow make him more complex than he already was, and he was a very complex character. Yes. By making him try to resist this and be like the voice of reason throughout the season, they completely destroy him.
Yeah. And they pay no attention to the arc of his character, the arc of the story, where things happen when. This also has this knock-on effect or this larger effect, frankly, that's maybe intentional.
Yeah.
Where the Fire Nation is more relatable.
Yeah.
And more complicated.
Right. And like, I wouldn't on its face have an issue with that kind of approach if it wasn't for the fact that is then paired with like making the good guys, the guys that we root for, like in this show, like worse.
Yeah. They're just objectively worse.
They're objectively worse. The people in the Earth Kingdom, like the characters that we see, the gang, they're all objectively worse, and you don't want to root for them.
Yeah.
So it's really, it doesn't sit right with me that you've decided to pair those two things together.
Yeah. Which almost, because there's a limited time frame that you're covering the show, what you choose to depict, it's really important.
It's really important.
It's really important. Even it would be regardless of how much time you had, but it's really important that you only had a few episodes and this is what you chose to emphasize. It's a lot of fight scenes and it's a lot of exposition that's just talking.
Yeah.
Right. Almost the same way that like you mentioned how in history classes in the West, like imperial history is just like on this date X and Y and Z happens.
This battle.
This war, this battle, this year.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like everything is explained to us in terms of the details to where you would just fall asleep like you're listening in a history class.
Yeah.
But we should talk about Aang.
Yes.
Because the way that Aang goes from, in the original series, this tragic survivor of a genocide, the only survivor of the genocide, the Last Airbender, who is the Avatar.
Yeah.
And wrestling with with losing his identity, not having anybody to connect him except Appa to that life from before.
And Momo.
For him to be instead, also this 12-year-old, right? For him to be not like the way that they changed the depiction of the genocide of the Airbenders.
Yes.
It was gross negligence.
It's gross negligence, and it's also something that has been taken and put in more in the Fire Nation's like perspective, like periphery. Yeah. In that perspective too, because really, I think the choice to show the genocide on screen as some sort of really like epic battle.
Yeah. Remember, this is like supposed to appeal to people who like Game of Thrones.
Right. Well, same issue there.
Right.
Versus we never actually see in the original, we never actually see the genocide. We see the aftermath and the impact that that's had on the one like living victim.
Yeah.
Which I think is a more like tragic, like I think that shows the tragedy of it better.
Yeah, it shows the humanity of it.
Yeah.
Because like, so if, for example, imagine in a comparable situation, a show about, a survivor from Gaza.
Yeah.
And you have, in one instance, a show that does not show the brutality that happens in Gaza, but just shows the torture that it inflicts upon the survivor.
Yes.
The guilt that he feels for not being able to do anything.
The loneliness.
Yeah. All the things that he misses.
Yes.
And also being a child, how he survives and has to make the world a better place.
Yes. It's
pulling from that.
There's no humanization with it whatsoever.
Imagine instead a show that's just like, we're going to show Gazans getting slaughtered for like 5 minutes to start this show.
Yeah.
But also they're getting their lick back because they're fighting back.
Yeah.
It's like these epic fight scenes.
They're epic. Yeah. But and though, when we do flash forward to the, one soul like survivor, like we're just going to like drop that information like it's nothing. And he's just going to for a split second after Gran like tells him, he just like runs out of time. He's like, oh man, I got to think about this for a second.
Yeah.
And that's
comical.
it. It's
comical.
Yeah. It's pretty sick.
It's actually sick. It's comical that first of all, it's a butchered retelling of the intro thing as like a fan service where Gran's doing the Katara, earth, fire, air, water.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like, just as you don't remember that you don't know that all of the people from your village are dead and you're the da-da-da. And Aang goes, he's Avatar the Last Smolderer. He's just standing there and he's going, and then he walks off and he's staring off and like this, sitting like this with his knees up. Yeah. And Katara goes up to him. And he's like, man, everybody I know is gone. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. And what does Katara tell him, by the way?
Well, this is later on when he sees Monkey Otto's skeleton, because they decided to put that scene in.
No, this is after Gran tells him. Oh. This is after Gran tells him and he finds out for the first time information-wise. Okay. So he hasn't even had any emotional reaction that's notable. Right?
Hardly.
And then when they do the Gyatso thing later, it's like all of a sudden he's having this outburst.
Yeah.
But when yeah, he hears about this. He's gone off on his own, and Katara goes up to him. And what does Katara tell him about her mother? You know, that actually when we lose people, that's how we fight. That's what makes us...
No, that's the Gyato.
No, I swear that happens after the... I swear that happens after the thing.
I think that's Gyato, bro.
I don't think so.
This is why we need to fucking go over this war.
It's fine. So, regardless, like...
Okay, okay, no. You're gonna say that again.
Wait.
Yeah, Gran tells him, and then also they decide to keep in him finding Monkey Atsu's skeleton scene.
Yeah.
And so yes, that's a moment where we see his pain and his grief and his rage. But then what is then like what the audience is said to take from it, though, the way that it's framed then is like when Katara emphasizes to him at one point that, like, you know, when you lose people, like, it makes you strong. Yeah. And then that's how you can then fight. Yeah. Like me with my mom or whatever. You know, I think this is, he's like, he's finding out about this, he's dealing with this, and then he goes from like sitting there and smoldering to Katara walking with him and telling him, so I lost my mom because the Fire Nation came and attacked our village. And he's just like, oh, huh, okay, interesting, right? And like, if I found out, I don't know, that everybody I ever knew was dead, murdered viciously, I'd be probably like not talking to anybody for a few hours. Yeah. You know, I'd be probably like pretty sick. Might not survive that. Well, no, I mean, because in the original, like, the response to this is like not the response to Aang's pain is never, well, this is why we have to fight. No. The response to Aang's pain is always like comfort. Is always Katara comforting him. Is always like the gang being like, hey, we're here for you.
Yeah, you have family.
You have family. You are not alone. We're here for you. We love you. And that is what gives them the strength to like go on this journey that they have to go on together.
Yeah. So this is part of what the show does to also butcher the way that children are affected by oppression. Yes. And by colonization.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because the original did so good at like their choice to have the main characters be children, and for like that fact to be something that they really try to hold on to, like their childlikeness, I think is really important, because under oppression, specifically like imperialism and colonization, like childhood is something that isn't valued as important. No. That's something that's like taken away from a lot of children. They're adultified on both sides, because we see that with Zuko too. They're adultified. They're expected to just like you know, just like be a part of the cause however they can. They're not really allowed to be children, and the Netflix adaptation like does that to them.
Yeah, it's similar to what we see in Palestine and in Israel, right? So it goes to how it affects both sides. It's the Freire, Paulo Freire dehumanization happens to the oppressed and the oppressor. Yeah. You know, Israeli kids from an early age are told, actually there are subhumans that live and they're trying to take everything from you, and you have to become a warrior. And
they all have to,
people. And then the Palestinian children are left to become like the heads of household and to try to help their family survive before they can ever have like a real childhood. You know? So in this series, you know, rather than how in the original you have all these scenes where Aang is like really trying to still live his childhood as a 12-year-old boy who is processing this immense grief, needing that, frankly, to cope, and emphasizing to Katara, who is completely adultified, becoming kind of taking the place of her mother and trying to take care of Sokka and herself. You're a kid. You know, the penguin sledding, right? And the different moments where they have fun and they interact. Like, it's really important for them that they find and reclaim their childhood while taking on this immense journey.
Yeah, and that's that was really the beauty of Aang's character, was he served as that. For like the entire gang. He like reminded them like, hey, you still are a kid, like we're still kids, and how important that is in like their resistance is not to like along the way as they're trying to, you know, fight and do the things that they need to do. They should never forget that like childhood spark that they have, that they're still kids. That is part of what makes them powerful. Like that's part of what makes them such great characters and has them like that's just so important to their resistance.
Resistance. That's the key word. It's part of their resistance is healing themselves. in the Netflix adaptation, there's no care for how they heal themselves. There's no care for them being children at all.
No.
They don't react or act like children. There is, of course, the infamous scene early on. Aang is told that he's the Avatar. And he's walking off to himself and he's saying, I can't be the Avatar. I like eating mooncakes with my friends and playing.
It's just like not a kid thing to like say and like to describe yourself as.
Don't show him playing with the kids. Just have him talk about it.
When do kids ever just like say that? Say stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like describe how they're a kid instead of just being a kid.
I'm just a kid. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also just this constant way that Aang talks, where he's just constantly like this very adultified, like his reaction when he comes across Katara and Sokka, and he comes across the children of the Southern Water Temple, and the Southern Water Tribe. Sorry,
Wolf Cove apparently
Wolf
is what it's
called. Wolf Cove, and the kids are playing with each other, and in the original series, Aang plays with them. And they have this childlike play moment.
They have so much fun,
In the adaptation, Aang looks at them and
observes them. I don't know. I don't understand that.
He looks like a 60-year-old who's just thinking about how young he was once upon a time.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a very odd choice.
He's literally been frozen in ice. You know, he's not like he just aged for 100 years. He's literally been frozen in ice.
Yeah.
These things, they're very goofy. And they're very easy to like make fun of the show for, but I do think that they're insidious. I think that you're exactly correct about that.
Yeah.
Because it's literally not part of how the oppressor continues to perpetuate oppressive narratives is by dehumanizing the oppressed, which we touched on. And part of how they dehumanize the oppressed is by making their resistance have to go through all these hoops, all of these hoops to be something above human, to be something godly. You can never be violent, you can never speak out too badly, and you have to accomplish absolutely everything, but without hurting anybody. And this is what the show casts upon as a burden to its main character, who are the oppressed. Oh, you're like little kids who are just learning how to survive and also how to hold their own. Well, you can't have any like real deep like feelings about, like, you can't do anything silly. You know, you can't mess up. You can't act like children. You have to act like the most stoic adults in the history of the universe.